Released in 2022, this Wonder Woman 1984 Deluxe Edition is the 5th iteration of the character by Hot Toys. Though strictly speaking, the brand new portrait shipped with this release is technically the 3rd generation, as the last one was reused several times. Starting with the head sculpt, yes, the likeness had definitely leveled up. There is a lot of Gal Gadot in this portrait. The intensity of the makeup and the thickness of the hair is just about right, and I really like the weaves that hang over the front right shoulder. Though I'm not too jazzed about the side glance, as it does limit the posing options a bit. And I also gotta be real for a second. Even in hand, I'd argue the head sculpt isn't perfect. It's a really good likeness to be sure, and it's easily my favorite one to date. But I think the honor for the best presence and likeness is currently held by the life-size bust from Infinity Studio. Granted, that bust is 1:1 scale, but my point is that there's still room for improvement. And just for comparison, here's a side-by-side with the sculpt from the Justice League version, which to me has a bit of that startled deer caught in the headlights kind of expression. It certainly wasn't bad for its time, but this new one is clearly a step in the right direction. Before jumping into Asteria's golden armor, let's first take a look at the helmet. Like everything else on this costume, this helmet is spot on in terms of sculpting, painting, and proportions. There are some foam paddings inside, and it's used in conjunction with this beautifully scaled inner piece here. There's a bit of padding on the backside also, though I can't help but feel a little queasy when I have to put something directly on the head sculpt. And you also have to be very careful when putting on the helmet, as to not scratch up the nose and chin. Doing this is arguably my least favorite part of this release, but it otherwise looks splendid. Hot Toys have done a great job replicating the rest of the armor. It looks as if it's ripped straight from the promotional materials of the movie, complete with that dazzling metallic finish. The emblem on the breastplate and the different segments across the torso are all entirely separate pieces, and the same goes for the shoulder plating here, which allows for a bit of articulation. As seen on the arms and legs, Diana is sporting a full bodysuit underneath that's meticulously textured. The bracelets of submission are stellar as ever. It's garnished with some scuff marks and has the proper gap that's connected by 2 sculpted buckles. The thigh armor is very interesting. Unlike the Dark Knight Batman, where each armor plate is individually attached on the suit, the shape of the platings here lend themselves nicely as a collective piece that's worn directly over the suit. And the same goes for the lower leg armor, except for a larger section here that's opened for the actual suit. The boots are completely sculpted, which is not a problem, as the wedges that Diana wears would not leave much room for toe articulations. Besides, this allows for details like wrinkles and outsoles to be perfectly retained. Now, even if Hot Toys' base body is capable of some excellent articulation, much of that would be understandably limited due to the bodysuit, as indicated in this incredibly persuasive instruction manual. This is ill-advised, but I did find that most limbs can be pushed a little further than what the instructions modestly suggest, most notably with the shoulder joints. The only exception to this is the torso. It's not that the beautifully segmented armors are in the way, but because the joints are required to be super stiff, so they could hold up the rather heavy wings, which we'll get to in a second. It also goes without saying that the figure shouldn't be left in a pose for too long, as to not wear out the stretchy suit underneath. For the accessories, let's start with the basics. First is this sculpted portion of the lasso, which serves as a prop for extra loops around the hands in place of the real deal. Because, let's face it, the gold on this beautiful lasso of truth can be easily rubbed off by excessive folds. The other downside to this lasso is that there's no wired lining underneath, so it just kinda goes limp, requiring you to be very creative to get those mid-swing poses. There's also a hook on the right side for attaching the lasso in its ready state. The hook itself is kind of tiny, so do be careful when using this, as to not scrub off the paint. Next is this brilliant figure stand, with a flexible stem for dynamic display options. I didn't even notice Diana's silhouette in the background the first time I looked at this. As far as I'm aware, this 3-point pinch style grabber is a first for Hot Toys, and it comes with this nifty wireframe, which serves as anchors for the massive wing spread. And speaking of which, the wings are the centerpiece of this grandiose release. This backplating here is detachable for this base piece that connects to the wings. The hinge in the middle is really strong, so the wings could hold a pose. This closed wing option is available for every version of this release. The splendor on the individually textured feathers almost outshines the armor itself. They're really easy to install on the base too, which is a testament to Hot Toys engineering. The open wings are exclusive to the Deluxe version. By themselves, these wings aren't overly heavy, but when strapped to Diana's back, the heft really adds up, which explains why the torso has to be so strong. Nonetheless, these wings are absolutely fabulous. When paired with the rest of this magnificent golden armor, this figure is extremely eye-catching on your display. For the size comparison, let's get some housekeeping work out of the way by starting out with this Superman from Man of Steel, followed by this Batman from BVS Dawn of Justice. I always felt that the DCEU figures by Hot Toys are a little too big for the scale, but these figures undeniably look great together. Next, we have the obligatory comparison to the Justice League Wonder Woman. Personally, I think the overall proportions are much better on this new release. Oh, and one last thing, the head sculpts are perfectly interchangeable. The likeness on the new sculpt certainly bumps it up a notch, but the slightly awkward proportions on this Justice League body isn't doing this setup any favors. Hopefully this will be better with the next release. So there you have it, the 1/6 scale Wonder Woman 1984 by Hot Toys. For the first time, the resemblance to Gal Gadot is quite remarkable, and it only took him 5 tries. Between the side glance on the portrait, the reasonably hampered articulations, and the gloriously massive wings, this release is somewhat of a middle ground between an action figure and a statue. But even so, this release sets a new benchmark of excellence for this series. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.